My marriage didn't work out, which is too bad. Because he was an alcoholic, my ex-husband was hard to predict. He would sometimes lose control and hurt people physically. Every time it happened, I was terrified and unable to do anything. But I knew I had to go through this pain for my kids' sake. I felt bad because I knew that getting divorced would change their lives forever. I tried to stay upbeat for my kids even though it was hard. But after my son moved away to college, I began to doubt my marriage in every way. I knew the pain was too much for me to handle any longer. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done to end the marriage, but I knew it was the right thing to do. Now that I think about it, I see that I wasn't completely innocent either. But that event taught me many things that have made me better and more independent. I moved out after the breakup. It wasn't expensive, but the new place I found needed a lot of work. I didn't have a lot of money, so I chose to do the repairs myself, and I knew it would make my new place feel more like home. Plus, I would feel good about what I had done. I bought some paint that was not expensive. A lot of paints back then had dangerous chemicals in them because rules weren't as strict. I was aware that it was bad for my health, but I didn't have the cash to change things. But decorating wasn't the only hard thing for me. After surgery on my back 3 years ago, I still need painkillers. I know it's bad to depend on them for too long, but the pain makes it impossible for me not to. I'm trying exercise and massages and other things to help ease the pain, but I know it will take time. I've always tried to live my life in line with my Christian faith. I hope I can be a good example for the people I care about. I put my faith in God first, and I believe that He will keep my family safe. I thought that God would save my marriage, but He didn't. It was hard to find help when I needed it the most. When I thought that the people around me would help, I found myself by myself. It hurt more than I thought it would. Back then, I was living with a friend while I worked long hours to finish fixing up the new place. The whole process took a very long time and was very annoying. I mixed paints to make the odd furniture look better as a whole. I had to think of new ways to use each piece's unique shape and color. After 7 hours of work one day, my back hurt really bad. I was tired from the drugs, but I had to keep taking them. I felt like I needed a break so badly. I wasn't aware of how bad the air smelled because I was so tired. I slammed into the couch and passed out right away. I don't know how long I was out, but I remember that my breaths got short. I wanted to get up, but my body wouldn't let me. I knew the room's air could be dangerous, but I hadn't done anything to protect myself. No one heard me when I yelled for help. I felt like I was disconnecting from the real world. It felt like my spirit was leaving my body and going up into the air. As I floated up, I felt like I was shaking a little. I could see everything in the room more clearly than before because my field of vision grew. It was strangely beautiful to feel like I had no weight as I floated. My dead body was lying below me, and I looked at it like I had nothing to do with it. I had clear, sharp thoughts, but I still didn't know what was going on. It felt like a dream, but it was so much clearer and different. Then fear set in. I was afraid that this state would last forever. I woke up in a dark room all of a sudden. As I walked into the pitch-black area, I felt a fear I couldn't explain. I didn't want to move because I didn't know what I might find. That was bad enough, but I also had a scary feeling that there were things waiting in the dark to attack. It seemed like they could feel me because they moved faster. Even though it was dark, I could see them well. They had dull, leathery skin and looked a bit like people, but they were bigger. The closer these things got, the scarier I got. I didn't know what they were after, but I could tell they were bad. It looked like they were going to pull me into a bottomless pit of darkness. At that very moment, a bright flash of light showed up in front of me. The light gave off warmth and hope, even though it was bright. I had trouble seeing as it got brighter, and all of a sudden, a strong force pulled me out of the darkness. The darkness slowly went away. It seemed like I had been taken to a whole new place. The air was calm, and a warm, bright light filled the whole area around me. The musty smell that was there before was gone. The room I was in was beautiful, very different from the dark space I had just left. In the distance, I could see a beautiful building with a golden sphere on top that looked a lot like a symbol. Someone in a long white robe came out of the building with a book in his hands when the doors opened. The book's cover was long and thick, like leather, and had complicated patterns and symbols cut into it. I could feel a strange energy coming from it as I looked at it, and I couldn't help but wonder what secrets it held. The man in the robe had a soft look on his face. As soon as he touched my shoulder, I felt like I knew him, like I had been here before. It felt like this was where I should be. The safety and love it provided made me feel like nothing could ever hurt me here. The person in the robe smiled and said, "Welcome home." I didn't know where I was, so I asked, "Where am I? Where is this? Who am I? How did I get here?" The calm man answered, "This is not your first time here. You came here to do what you need to do." He told me this place was different from everything I had ever seen or heard. "Many people call this place heaven," he said with a calm smile. I asked him, "What is my job?" "You will understand when you return," he said with a knowing look. "Go back." "May I stay?" I asked. "You are free to stay if that is your wish," he told me with calm eyes. "It's beautiful and peaceful here, but if you stay, you won't be able to go back to your old life. I will respect whatever choice you make. I can't make your choice, though." "What should I do?" I was torn as I asked. "Listen to your heart," he said not too loudly. "Do you have the strength to leave your loved ones behind?" One person stood out to me when I thought of my family, my son. I was so worried about him. What would he do without me? I couldn't leave him to fight for himself because he still needed help with so many things. I had already decided. I had to go back. I was back on the couch when I opened my eyes again. The air was thick and smelled awful. When I tried to stand up, my legs gave out, and I fell back down on the couch. It felt like even the smallest moves were huge tasks. I got back on my feet slowly and stumbled towards the door. With all the strength I still had, I ripped it open. I made it to the stairs, but all of a sudden I passed out and fell to the ground. It felt like all of my strength had been taken away from my body. I was sure I really needed help. I prayed very hard for God to help me with my eyes closed. I woke up in a hospital bed the next thing I knew. A doctor told me that my neighbor found me after I had been out of it for a few hours. He told me that things could have gone very badly if I had arrived at the hospital any later. When I heard this, I felt so thankful for my neighbor. I learned more about what happened after the fact. The apartment building we lived in was old and not very busy. My neighbor realized he forgot his wallet as he was going for work that morning. He went back to get it because he was afraid he wouldn't be able to use the train without it. He heard me fall down the stairs just as he was about to open his door. He quickly came up and found me unconscious. He then called for help right away. My neighbor and God saved my life that day by helping me and giving me a second chance. At the time, I didn't tell my son about it. I didn't want to worry him or get in the way of his studies. Life was hard for me as a single mom, but God was with me the whole time. After many years, my son is now a father himself. When that day came, I felt so much better. I remember how sure he looked and how grown up he looked as he held his new baby. We were both so proud of how much he had grown into a man. That moment will never be forgotten. I value life more now, every person and every moment. My faith in God and in myself has grown stronger through all the hard times. Every day, just being alive makes me happy and thankful. God has helped me through all of my problems, and there have been a lot of them. When I look back, I can see that even the tough choices I made were the right ones at the time. I grew because of all of them. Now I enjoy every moment with my family and friends. It may not make sense, but I believe that God saved me. God is still there, even when we don't see replies to our prayers right away. Even when we don't fully understand, He always works with perfect knowledge.